Mikel Arteta was born in San Sebastián in sunny Spain. The very same year, so was a football club, an academy for the brightest and best talents in the area, Anti-Guku. Anti-Guku was out of the Basque Country, and 9 years after forming, Mikel Arteta would sign for them. At the club, Mikel befriended a young lad his age named Xabi. Xabi was also an aspiring young midfielder. The two developed a strong bond, and Xabi and Mikel learned a lot from each other. Until one day they were separated. Xabi had attracted interest from Real Sociedad's academy, and Mikel had attracted interest from the world-renowned La Masia Academy of Barcelona. Mikel and Xabi were separated, but this wasn't the end of the story for the two young friends. Mikel was introduced to new friends, a new environment, a new academy, and a new style of play. He met Victor and Andres. He was introduced to Xavi. The boys were kept in line by head coach Louis van Gaal and club captain Pep Guardiola. Mikel, unbeknownst to him, was surrounding himself with some of the best minds that football has ever seen. Mikel's education was growing, his style of play was developing, his vision, his creativity was fluid, but he was starting to falling behind the likes of Andres and Xavi in particular. La Masia was ruthless, the standards were higher than he's ever seen before, and quickly Mikel was falling out of favour. He struggled for first team football. Mikel was falling further and further behind, and it was decided by the club that he would be sent on loan to Paris. He joined French giants Paris Saint-Germain, and his football education would continue. He was introduced to his teammates, Nicolas, Mauricio, JJ, and a young boy named Ronald de Assis Moreira, or Ronaldinho for short. A young man also with high ambitions to play for Barcelona. PSG gave Mikel Arteta glowing reviews as the Spaniard decided to return to Barcelona. Meanwhile, the Spanish giants had other plans. Mikel was moving to Glasgow. In a game at Ibrox between Rangers and Paris Saint-Germain, the Glasgow side decided they'd seen more than enough and must sign Mikel Arteta. Alex McLeish okayed the deal, Rangers' bid of £6 million was accepted, and Mikel Arteta left the streets of Paris, the sunny beaches of Spain, and he moved to East Dunbartonshire. Mikel Arteta was a Rangers player. Little did he know this would be the making of him, as a person, a player, and as a manager. Full throttle, tough tackling, a league that took no prisoners. Mikel Arteta had to learn fast, and he did. Arteta scored in his Old Firm debut and quickly became a fan favourite, winning the treble with Rangers in 2003. He perfectly demonstrated his confidence, his temperament, his composure in the biggest moments when he slotted away a penalty in the dying seconds to secure the treble and the league title for Rangers. Despite all this, it was Real Sociedad who decided to bring Mikel home. The Spanish club made a move and Rangers accepted. Mikel was heading home. It was the dream scenario. Mikel Arteta and Xabi reunited childhood friends at the same club. That was until Liverpool. Liverpool came knocking and Xabi Alonso moved all the way to Merseyside before Mikel Arteta even touched the Zubieta grass. The move fell off and Arteta yearned for pastures new. Merseyside was calling him too. Everton manager at the time, David Moyes, believed that Mikel Arteta was exactly what his Everton side was missing after the departure of Thomas Gravesen to Real Madrid. And there they were, Mikel and Xabi, childhood friends, now on the opposite sides, red and blue of Merseyside. Best of friends and now bitter rivals. Mikel's football education was already an eclectic mix of Spanish intellect, Parisian power, Brazilian flair and British physicality. At 25, Arteta became Everton's Player of the Year, and at 29, he felt like he'd done all he can for the Toffees. The England national team at this point were desperate. They were looking for a midfielder with composure, with Spanish flair, but creativity and fluid in their style of play. The England team were looking at Mikel. England manager Fabio Capello made a move, and Arteta was interested. Mikel would play for England. This was until FIFA said no. Mikel stated he almost went to war with the international football governing body, but FIFA were adamant he was not to play. Arsene Wenger, however, also needed a midfielder, and Mikel Arteta was who he had his eye on. The Spaniard joined Arsenal in 2011 on a 4-year deal. Arteta settled into life at Arsenal and was enjoying a day off one day when his phone rang.
Mikel, I need information.
It was Guardiola. Pep had called his former teammate ahead of his Barcelona side's Champions League semi-final clash with Mikel's fellow Premier League outfit, Chelsea.
Tell me everything you know.
This conversation would turn out to be important, more important than Mikel knew. Arteta then went on to help Arsenal to what was his first silverware at the club after winning the FA Cup in 2014. Mikel's mentality and leadership qualities didn't go unnoticed, and Arsenal made him club captain the following season. This was to be the beginning of the end, however, for Arteta at Arsenal, and despite some good performances, he announced his retirement. Arteta had 3 options upon his retirement. He was offered to lead the Arsenal Academy by Arsene Wenger. He could join former teammate Mauricio Pochettino and his staff at Tottenham. Or he could join Pep Guardiola's coaching team at Manchester City. On July 3rd, 2016, the decision was made and Arteta was appointed Manchester City assistant manager. That Barcelona connection had remained, and Pep had always respected Mikel's football intellect ever since that fateful phone call. Fast forward 3 years and Arsene Wenger's Arsenal were struggling. They'd become stale. The club finally took a difficult decision and parted ways with the Frenchman. Arsene Wenger was no more, and a young Spanish manager was on their list, Unai Emery. Things got worse for Arsenal under Emery, and this only highlighted Arteta's success. At Manchester City, he won titles, and Pep Guardiola's management style had rubbed off. The world was looking for a new, young manager, and Mikel Arteta was the name on everyone's lips. It was time for Mikel to go it alone. In 2019, Mikel Arteta was named Arsenal head coach. He signed on an initial 4-year deal, and the club was expecting big things. The mission: to return Arsenal back to Premier League champions. The wealth of knowledge he had acquired was huge. He had learned from the very best, but it was time to curate his own style of play. He believed that the club had lost direction. He said he didn't want players to shirk responsibility. I want people to take responsibility for their jobs. I want people who deliver passion and energy in the football club. Anyone who doesn't buy into this or that has a negative effect, it's not good enough for this environment or this culture. Arteta's style of play has propelled Arsenal from top 4 contenders to title challengers, despite relative success winning the Community Shield and the FA Cup and returning Arsenal to the Champions League. Questions still remain over Arteta's capacity to maintain a season-long title-winning campaign. 8 Premier League Manager of the Month awards haven't been enough to see Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side get over the line. Now entering his 6th year in charge, is it time that Mikel Arteta won the Premier League? And if so, what happens if he doesn't?